we are mid-conversation with Adam from YourMovieSucksDotOrg, the best movie reviewer in Canada.
That's probably
in
true.
Quotations.
Yeah, in quotations.
The best.
Like we've heard it once. The best movie reviewer in Canada, I say.
I don't know enough about
It's
Canada.
Where at in Canada are you? Do you hail?
Vancouver.
Vancouver. So you're out west.
Yeah, it's the LA of Canada, and it's also the Hong Kong of Canada.
Okay. My brain just immediately says there's just Asians all over the place, like from Hong Kong, and then they just come straight to Vancouver because I've never been. So are you saying it's like a cult? It's also like, is Vancouver also like its own entity? Like I'm Vancouveran before Canadian.
I think it's Vancouverite is how. Yeah.
Oh,
not like
forgive
Vancouveran. Me. It's weird. I don't know. I moved here like 5 years ago. Actually, it's been more than 5 years now, hasn't it? I moved here in summer of 2011, so I guess it's been 7 years now.
Jeez.
And I used to live in the colder parts of Canada, and then I decided I didn't want to, and then moved to Vancouver. And it's actually when people think Canada, they immediately think like snow all the time. Vancouver never really gets snow all that often
because it's pretty near like Seattle, right?
Yeah, it's like 3-hour drive from Seattle on the coast. We got like beach, we got palm trees. It's not like it's no Hawaii or anything.
No lava in your streets right now.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll snow maybe 3 days out of the year, and most years it like melts as it hits the ground anyway. But yeah, I enjoy Vancouver, and a lot of different cultures. It's a big melting pot. But yeah, Chinese people everywhere. No issue with that. But
not that there's anything wrong.
It is.
The food is incredible.
It's difficult to describe the city without describing
That's fair.
How many Chinese people there are in the city.
It's kind of like saying San Francisco or something, but not mentioning the like first or second generation immigration population. Right?
Sure.
I mean,
it's like mentioning San Francisco without mentioning all the gays.
All the gays.
I thought that's what you were going to say at first.
Oh well,
okay.
I surprised even myself.
Good for you.
I corrected it.
Yeah. Vancouver. It was your video, wasn't it? The video where Vancouver's actually used in a lot of movies.
That was Every Frame of Painting.
Was that Every Frame of Painting?
Also, yeah, I went to lunch with him once. I think he's still in Vancouver.
That's why I mistook it.
Because
of course I knew you went to lunch with him once.
That makes
sense.
It
couldn't have been just I'm stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, Tony's cool.
Do you run into a lot of film crews then, or is that just it's a big place?
There's quite a few points where you'll notice something being filmed. So like you're walking in a park and be like, hey, there's a film crew, or like sometimes the streets shut down. Like Deadpool was shot here.
Right.
Pretty much everything is shot in Vancouver in some form. Tons of American movies and TV shows because we have tax subsidies. So it's actually less expensive for film crews to film here, even if they're American big budget productions, than most places in the States. And also we've got a good infrastructure for it. The city's used to it at this point. So
it's also
all the resources are available.
It's picturesque, which is the most important. It looks like every city when you just say it's another city.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much everybody that lives here has got some friend working in some sort of arts. I have friends that do like makeup for TV shows and stuff. So it's a cool place to live. It's very expensive though. It's like the most expensive city in North America. And in terms of the housing market,
okay,
I think it's right behind Hong Kong.
Wow, which is really surprising nuts. And not a thing I expected.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's there's plenty of reasons for it, but I'm not gonna get like way too political here and bore you, because it is a complicated issue.
Yeah. But by the way, we got you on specifically to talk about Vancouverite
the housing market.
Politics.
That's what the people come for.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so real disappointed in this.
I know.
Okay.
I'm a one-trick pony.
This is off on a tangent, But anyway, I'm working on a review for Space Jam right now. Jake knows this.
Nice.
Many people know this. I have an entire section in which I talk about the face that I believe launched 1,000 furries, and that is Lola Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god.
So, for those
Not
of you
untrue.
For those of you who don't know, Adam himself is a furry, so I'm just curious your opinion on that whole thing, being a furry. Because
I'll need a more specific question than that.
Okay.
Is Lola Bunny a catalyst?
Basically,
What's your opinion on being a human being? You know?
no, I'm talking about, like,
Because it...
my thing in the review that I talk about, and especially in the 90s and early 2000s, you had a lot of these anthropomorphic female characters.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're, especially, I think the typification of that is in Lola Bunny. I feel like the sexualization of that, I feel like it created certain amount of furries. I think this is... I'm not crazy. I am not crazy.
I agree with you, and a lot of furries would agree with you as well. I don't know if you watched my there's like a Adam and Pals kind of edited down commentary track that we recorded for Space Jam and published like a little supercut of the funny moments. But we touched on that in the commentary, even though most of what we were saying was jokes. But
Sure.
It was really apparent to us watching this as adults, because I don't remember the last time I watched it.
I do.
It's just it's so strange and so almost innocent, because no one would ever expect to warp children's minds like that just by
God damn it, Michael Jordan.
Movie. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, so much of the humor in that film is just like, haha, that's mildly sexual, and that's the joke, you know?
It's not
and it's so strange.
It's not even just that it's the joke. It's so weird to me that her entire character is just, look,
will I fuck Bugs Bunny?
that's the whole joke! It's so bizarre.
It's one of those things where when you have so many people working on a project and there's so much money behind it, there are certain checklists that need to be fulfilled in order for the project to get made. And a lot of the times, you know, especially in the 90s, a female love interest was one of those checkboxes.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that for Michael Jordan, right?
Well,
if he's playing himself. So you got to do it for Bugs Bunny. So you got to create this hot bunny. You know, you got to create the Bugs Bunny love interest, and on paper, they just wrote it as like the sexy bunny.
You know, I
and
think
it's like that's the thing. They got to justify why Bugs has a boner.
I think a little bit. Jim Henson kind of did this with Miss Piggy, but in a much like she wasn't physically. She's not physically like, you don't go, ooh, look at Miss Piggy, she's super attractive. I'm sure people think Miss Piggy's attractive, but she was always trying to get in Kermit's pants.
Yeah,
like
but
constantly.
But she has a character.
though.
That's what I was
I
going
know.
to say.
She's not a
beyond
caricature.
that. And the joke isn't. I don't know how to put this. The joke isn't just she wants to fuck Kermit.
No. I'm saying
she is Kermit is a very nice guy who will let people do whatever, and she's a very boisterous, loud. Yeah.
When we're talking about something like Miss Piggy, that's all to do with her character. Whereas Lola, it's not like oh, she wants to fuck a specific person. It's everybody wants to fuck Lola. That's how
a
she's
good point.
presented.
That's true.
Point.
Everyone wants to fuck Lola. It doesn't say much about her character at all. It says about how you're supposed to interpret the character, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so a kid watches that, and they're developing, you know, like 4 years old, 6 years old, whatever, you know, like the human brain functions in a way where as you're a kid, you're this sponge absorbing all of this information for what you're supposed to do in your life. And at a certain point in your life, one of those slots for information is going to have to do with your sexuality.
Yeah.
And if you're watching the wrong thing, you're screwed.
I have a thing about this. I call this the Hannah Montana effect. Let me explain. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
No, it doesn't have to do with it. No.
Your proximity to me and the animation involved is what I'm...
Okay. I gesticulate a lot. Not the point. This is what I call the Hannah Montana effect, and I base this upon the Disney Channel show Hannah Montana. What happened was, I remember specifically when Hannah Montana became a thing, she like started doing concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, she's a fictional character. Think about that for a second.
Right.
Imagine if the Brady Bunch in the 70s, when they were doing their band thing when the show was going downhill, they went on an actual tour and people went to go see them.
Sure.
It's bizarre. Disney created a pop star by framing a show in which she is a famous pop star and had other kids on the show be like, yay, Hannah Montana.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
So kids in real life are like, I should like Hannah Montana.
It's Pokemon levels of marketing.
Yeah, it's really good.
Is that not what happened with like the Archies?
The Archies were... wait, did they have live-action people?
Was the band... There was a real band, the Archies. I don't know if that was like based off the comic or how that worked.
It's got to be based off the comic.
Josie and the Pussycats,
right?
Or that. Well, no. There's another example of that. There's that. Is it Japan? They have the holographic. God, I can't remember the name.
Hatsune Miku.
That might be it. And
The one that was in the Domino's commercials.
God, probably
Dancing on the pizzas.
Don't put your holograms on the pizzas.
Was she with like it was like an AR thing that you like put your phone at the box and she was I remember that.
Yeah, so she's a fictional thing that is very like if you go to YouTube, like it's bonkers. Like millions and millions of hits for this fictional schoolgirl it's an anime hologram pop star that is a thing that goes and does concerts.
That's bizarre to me.
Right, so it's very we've gone past like the Hannah Montana effect. Yes.
You know fucking what though? I would rather have them be honest about the fact that it's not an individual behind the music than the vast majority of shit that you see on the top 40 right now, where it's the exact same fucking thing, but instead of a hologram, it's a person pretending to be writing the songs, when in reality it's a team of Hollywood writers behind this image of a person that's not even reflective of who they are.
Thank you. And we should all take a hit right now because,
I don't even see any big deal about that. If you're going to have a hologram, it's just being more honest about it.
That's fair.
Yeah, no, I'm with that. My friends get slightly annoyed by me. Not you, because we don't talk about music, but my friends that do, my girlfriend even, they're like, you're a hipster. I'm like, I just really fucking hate whatever that is. Whatever, you could just call it pop, call it the top 40, call it the Hollywood, just the products. It's just a product, and it just drives me nuts, because I really like music.
Factory art?
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
That's unfair because you like Jake. You like the Marvel movies a lot.
I do.
And those are
I'm talking about music. I'm talking. Well, no. Okay, but it's like that if it was always quality, because I do like. And you like the Marvel movies.
Oh,
too.
I do, but I'm also not a. I like fucking 80s music and shit.
Right, but
I'm
to
garbage.
be fair, I look at the Disney movies with cynicism, and I go, God damn it, why do I like this? I shouldn't, but they do a good job.
Ugh. Okay.
Well, there's a difference between enjoying your experience with something.
Yeah.
And giving it more credit than it deserves.
Right.
So if you look at something that's incredibly formulated, that's done the same thing as a million things have done before, and there's no real personality behind it, and it only exists to check as many boxes to be as marketable and sellable as possible, you can still enjoy it. I don't have any issue with people who love all the pop music that I really don't care for, that gets a lot of radio play. I don't have any issue with people who love that, but the issue, well, I guess disagreement would come from people trying to claim that it's some sort of higher art form than it actually is. Like when people look at the lyrics and think like, oh man, that was written for me, but they don't understand that there's literally a team of Hollywood writers behind the song, and if they just went on Wikipedia and cared enough about the own art form that they supposedly love, they would know that. Whereas it's not actually the person who's singing.
Bo Burnham actually has a really funny song about that. It's called "Repeat Stuff," where he makes fun of that teenage poppy. That's pretty good. Yeah.
He's great at recognizing these kinds of patterns and tropes in the music industry, especially. I love his country parody.
I was just going to mention that too. He did one with the country, and that was really good as well.
It's very accurate what he has to say about the music industry as a whole.
Yeah,
and I would say that the music industry is worse to me in terms of how manipulative they are towards people's perceptions of what they're consuming and what the product is. Because at this point, people know the names of directors, right?
Yeah.
People know there's a handful of directors that like everybody knows. There's a handful of cinematographers that are popular enough to be outside of the to break past just the film heads. You know, Roger Deakins was a huge name on Reddit for people that, you know, aren't even huge movie nerds. Like the people behind the actual process, we're getting to a point where they're getting a lot more credit, and people can tell, like, oh yeah, you worked on this project, and I can see the similarities. I can see where your voice is. But in terms of the music industry, that doesn't really happen. You know,
Yeah.
The only time where people go like, oh, did you know that somebody else wrote this song, is when another famous brand image person wrote the song. You know, when the actual writers who don't actually show their face and aren't marketing their own image, you never see any of that. You never see people being like talking about producers all that much, unless it's the
Like
you
a
know,
sex
huge
scandal?
music nerds, right? Like that's not really in the public perception. The average music listener has no fucking idea who wrote or produced a song or who worked on it. You know, all they see is the image of the character that is performing that they're trying to present. And the parallel to that in films would be like seeing the actor only, which a lot of people still do. A lot of people see Hugh Jackman in a movie and they think that's a Hugh Jackman movie, but in reality, he's acting in someone else's movie. But yeah, it's much worse for music, in my opinion.
That's fair. I hadn't thought of that. I guess if you go out on the street and be like, hey, can you name 5 directors? I guarantee most people could, even if it's just like Steven Spielberg and basic people and stuff. But yeah, I couldn't name anyone in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy to think about.
You do music though as well.
I do.
That's
Yeah.
I think maybe if they're casual fans of your content, it's more the movie stuff. Obviously, I think that's what you're known for. But you were also sampled or covered. You were covered by a band not too long ago, a couple years ago, I think.
Exactly a year ago.
Exactly a year ago.
It was last May when it was released, but it was. I mean, they contacted me in like 2015. I basically I had a demo CD, or just like a low budget 4-track CD that I recorded in the end of 2009. It was released in like 2010. I was like 19 years old, I think, and it was something that I promoted a fair amount on my film review channel. At the ends of my videos, you'll notice a lot of the older videos would be like, oh, I also make music. Here's a little sample, and here's where you go if you want to check it out. Yeah. And I stopped promoting that after a while because the music had become too dated, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to keep promoting this as though it's a current reflection of my abilities. I'm going to wait until I have some new music out before I continue promoting it on my channel. But I got contacted by one of the founding members of Blondie, Chris Stein. So there's 2 founding members, Chris Stein and Debbie Harry. And he sent me an email and was like, hey, watch your videos. I found your music through it. Can we cover your song for the new album? And I was like, yes. And I didn't talk about it because the most important thing to do if you ever have an exciting opportunity that's like sounds like a great thing to happen in your life, don't fucking talk about it until it actually happens.
Yeah.
The worst thing to fucking do is to get people excited for something and then the project to fall through and not happen, and then just people go like, so what happened? Oh, I heard about it. What was that thing you're saying?
Well,
so I kept it a secret for a while until they sent me like an actual like unmastered copy of the song, and I'm very happy with what they did with it, and it's actually really validating and humbling that these iconic and legendary musicians liked my song enough to put it in their album. And not only that, but the full song, it's like 6 or 7 minutes long, and it's the final track on the album too. So It's called Fragments. It's on their new album Pollinator, and yeah, that's been out for like a year now.
Cool. Everyone check that out if you haven't already.
But also that means they listen to your whole album, which is pretty cool.
The whole album.
You don't think so?
Yeah, it was like 4 tracks.
Well, still, that's, maybe they thumbed through the first 3 and then they really hit gold. But
Maybe they didn't, because
That's fair.
Fragments was track 1 anyway. But regardless,
oh, it's the last on theirs. Oh,
It's
I
the
see.
last track on their album.
I see.
It's the first track on my demo that I recorded. But anyway, I'm recording an album, like my first full album now, and I've been doing that for almost 2 years now. But the reason why it's taking so long is because it's not my full-time job. It's like my passion project, and so I'm doing like a session every week and, figuring things out as I'm going along. And at that point, when that's out, which is probably going to be early next year, to the best of my ability to predict when it's going to be out. When that's out, I'll be promoting it again on my main channel, because I'll have stuff that I'm like, this is, a representation of my current abilities. And it's turning out very well, so everybody get hyped.
Get hyped. We are hyped. I actually am hyped, because I was looking at that. God, it must have been a few months ago you made an update video.
You probably can't get a deal to get on like a Pizza Hut box when that album actually does finally come out, but maybe like a Hungry Howie's or something like that.
Do they have Hungry Howie's
Maybe
in
like
Vancouver?
a Papa John's.
Yeah, Papa John's. They're pretty bottom of the barrel.
Maybe not Papa John's though. I'm not saying you couldn't. I'm just saying maybe say no.
We don't all have the staff
What about
available
like a frozen
as an anime girl.
No, what about frozen California Pizza Kitchen? Like right on the box of one of those.
Yeah, we'll see. When I'm dead, they can make me a hologram like Tupac.
Oh my God!
Now I want to see a hologram of you doing like California Love by Tupac.
Yeah. When I'm dead, my hologram can be my persona, and then I'll truly be able to experience, but not really, because I'll be dead. That'll be my image in the world from that point on.
Speaking of personas, by the way, I just watched your quick review of Ready Player One, and I was talking to Jake about this movie the other day. There was actually a furry in the movie, but there was only one, which was the most unrealistic part of the movie. Why would there not? They would be everywhere. It doesn't make sense. And I think you even said in the review, like a bunch of them would be like anime characters. That's a flaw I find in that film.
None of that. The movie really did not understand human beings.
No,
and how people think and how people work and what people are capable of.
The book's not well written. In fact, the prose are terrible, and the guy who wrote it, I can't believe this book was as popular as it was. It's Twilight for, like, adult 30-year-old men who are into...
How can you not believe it's popular?
You know what I mean,
It's essentially... Yeah, I mean, that's books. People,
but, like...
People read great books.
I don't know. It just seems like the movie didn't make a lot of sense. The book explained it a little better. It was still shit, though. So I actually enjoyed the movie, mostly because I was like, wow, they made... Compared to the book, Steven Spielberg, surprisingly, for the 5 minutes of live action he directed... I know you didn't like the movie very much. I know you said you had a good time, but I was comparing it to the book the whole time. And
yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it. I was just infuriated by it, you know?
I love the idea of those two emotions, like not hating something, but also it making it like boiling your blood.
You can tell whoever had you can tell Steven Spielberg doesn't understand internet culture, nor did probably the screenwriter very well. I get it, but I don't know.
The guy, I mean, the writer of the book in interviews, he looks like an old guy.
He wrote a book, and he thinks the internet is magic and will allow him to live 80s movies in real life. And that you've seen the movie, so you know the premise. It was basically that. The weird thing is, the book has like conflicting text subtext stuff. The movie actually again, I don't know why I'm talking about this. It's because I just watched your review, so it feels like I just talked to you about this, but I've never talked to you before. So I'm just a creep. Anyway.
Yeah, just a creep.
Yeah.
Everyone's a creep in the Oasis.
On your recommendation, this is sort of tangentially related. Okay. I just watched what's it called? The one with the it's not King of Kong, it's the other one, the snake one.
Man vs. Snake.
Man vs. Snake. I just watched that
I didn't actually see that.
2 days ago. I actually recommend it. If you like King of Kong,
it's not. I don't think it
is.
But
Billy Mitchell is painted as such a good guy. I love that.
What's it called again? Snake.
Man vs. Snake. I think it's on Netflix.
Man vs. Snake.
It doesn't have You can tell the director isn't as good as the guy that directed King of Kong. It doesn't have as strong of a... I don't know how to put this.
It doesn't have this tension like King of Kong did.
Yeah, but it's still a nice story.
Well,
it's interesting.
You know, the thing about documentaries is, like, you have to cover a subject before you even know if it's going to pay off to be a full feature narrative, you know?
Yeah,
Some of the best documentaries, things just fall into their fucking lap.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works. The best stories that you could possibly tell that are already wrapped up and complete, somebody's already told them, documentary or not, for the most part. But yeah, it's always nice when something works out in a traditional narrative sense, even though it's real life.
Yeah, I bet the people were filming King of Kong when they were like, and Billy Mitchell kept being like more and more.
Yeah, there's
evil.
a bad guy.
They were probably like, "Holy shit, he's got a mullet and everything. What is happening?"
Yeah. Well,
we have an antagonist.
Yeah.
Billy Mitchell's just living his best life, man. He's just he's
going
going 80s big or go home.
I don't understand. You know, whether or not he retained the King Kong record had no effect on his hot sauce sales. He has a hot sauce brand. So I can't imagine why he cared enough, because I'd imagine some of those original scores were probably legitimate. I don't know, Adam, if you saw all the stuff that came out with Twin Galaxies in the past year or so, but basically,
I did.
Mitchell's a big liar, and a bunch of his scores, all of his scores have actually been expunged at this point, but I'd imagine a lot of those original scores, some of them were probably legit.
Big reward!
But the fact that he felt the need to lie about this long past the point anyone beyond himself... I mean, don't get me wrong, people care about those scores, but not on a personal level to the point that you need to lie about them.
That's so weird to me.
Just bizarre.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine that with video editing, a lot of world records and speedrunning times are probably faked.
Yeah, at this point.
People get caught all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Because you could create it, you know, from scratch, depending on the game, especially. I was thinking, you know, like you could take Super Meat Boy, and then turn your soundtrack volume down in the settings, and then play each level, take a million tries to get it, and then act like you did it all in one go by adding the soundtrack in post. Because then there wouldn't be any clipping between levels in the soundtrack, and you just skip the replay.
and this will be Exhibit A when you're brought in front of the Twin Galaxies Council for your Super Meat Boy record transgressions.
You can do a lot of things with video editing. People don't realize. It's like whenever... Sorry. I was just going to say, like, you go first.
Well, no, I will derail the conversation, absolutely. So...
I was going to bring it back to just relate it to what I was saying about music earlier, is that, like, part of the reason why people are so unaware of the production aspect of music is because it's really easy to trick people like that. In the same way that video editing, you can fake a speed run, and, you know, there'll be maybe somebody who catches it. You can fool so many people when it comes to pretending that you're playing music. And so half of the fucking videos out there of, well, I would say even more than half, all of the most popular videos you see on YouTube of pretty person in front of a camera, they've got a microphone, they're playing the piano or microphone and playing guitar, or maybe it's like 6 people playing the guitar at once, or there's something really cool going on, but they have microphones set up. And the implication by seeing the microphones on screen is that they are the sound you hear is coming from those microphones, but it is not true in the vast majority of cases. They pre-record it and then they just sync it. And it looks more impressive to the average audience member when you think like, oh man, I can't believe they're getting such a perfect sound out of this by just playing it like that. They're not, and it bugs me every fucking time. But it's really, really easy to trick people like that.
I thought I was cynical. I'm going to be so much more cynical after this conversation about things, because I don't pay attention in the music industry. Now I'm going to start I see stuff like this in movies. I don't see it in music, and now I'm going to start seeing this everywhere.
Oh, it annoys the fuck out of me.
So now the joy of music has left my life. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.
Joy of music.
What were you going to say?
Video edit. It's really easy to trick people with video editing. I was just going to bring up, and again, it would totally derail the conversation, so I'm glad you went first, is the being able to edit people's faces on porn now.
Oh my god.
Great.
And so now we're all going to have sex tapes.
You know, if everybody had a fucking sex tape out in the open, then no one would give a shit.
I was just gonna say, if everyone has a sex tape, then no one has a sex tape.
That would be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it kind of gets...
I don't give a shit. So what? People are naked. So what? People have sex. I don't give a shit.
Right. Because I think the initial stuff is going to be like, ooh, it's salacious. But like 20 years from now, it's not going to matter. And I'm wondering if it has a positive effect on the way this country, mine specifically, deals with sex, because you can't hide it from kids with the internet at this point. You have to confront it.
Funny. Yeah, it's so funny that we
Yeah.
still have these old ideas of like trying to protect the children,
Right.
but parents don't even fucking realize
Is it-
that it's like, yeah, your fucking 8-year-old has seen more hardcore shit than you.
Oh
ever
yeah,
will.
is it like that up in Canada? Because I know you have a much different structure than we do. We're very
Are you talking about I
culturally.
guess social conservatism?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In ways, I guess we're a very liberal country.
Right.
We also have a multi-party system, so it's not like incredibly
How dare you say
black
this
and
is
white.
freedom?
I feel personally attacked by our poor governance.
I feel like Canada overall is just not as divided of a country as yours is. And I mean, like, we have our differences, and there's different provinces that have different issues, and Quebec wants to
I was gonna say fuck
separate every once in a while. But yeah, I mean, I prefer living here. That's for sure. I'm glad to.
Yeah, if you want to marry one of
be
us,
Canadian.
I'm sure we'll take it at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, just throwing it out there. But yeah, here it's like we live in probably a purple area of there's a lot of college kids. There's some people that live out in the country.
There's a lot of old farmers and stuff.
Well, yeah,
too.
but mixed with that is
Whereabouts?
also whereabouts. We're in central Michigan in Saginaw County, which is historically one of the most segregated. Specifically, Saginaw City is one of the most segregated cities in the United States, behind places like St. Louis and stuff like that. I don't know where it ranks now, but traditionally it has been.
I'd imagine it'd be
It's pretty
high.
It's pretty high, and of course it's de facto. It's not like enforced.
Yeah.
It's just where pockets of people live.
Big reward.
But we also live in a I think majority minority city, so it tends more blue in here, but the rest of the county outside of it is red, right? So it's an interesting area. So, but even in the blue areas inside here, we kind of can't talk about sex, because I went to school to be a teacher, and of course I threw that out the window, and
Good call.
Good call. Well, they don't get paid shit, man. I make more money now than I would as a teacher, and that's sad as shit. Because I am worthless as a human being right now, and I could be shaping young minds. But, and maybe I shouldn't be.
I'm glad we're better off that you're here and on YouTube. I think.
will tell you, I got glowing fucking reviews. I did very well, and then I was like, I don't want to pay for this anymore.
I'd probably enjoy having Dick Joke the teacher also, but like.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, even the professionals were like, hey, you're doing a good job, kid, but you can't talk about sex at all, even if you get asked. Like, you're a teacher. Like, I want to teach them things. I'm not saying I want to...
Oh, God.
Well, okay. I don't
Someone clip
I
that.
want to teach sex to the kids.
Someone clip
Well, no, I think memes aside, I don't want to teach them specific positions and cunnilingus techniques. What I'm saying is, if someone gives... Because I literally got a question, about like condom usage, like, do you always have to do that? And I couldn't answer it. I was like, I'm not allowed. But I want to be like, fucking yes, please do that. Please use those.
What you have to do is pull up a slide of Lola Bunny, so it's age appropriate.
I think we've opened up.
And then you can use that to teach the kids.
I'm so stupid.
Use Lola Bunny.
Lola Bunny. See, how...
Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Start them out as furries, and that'll fast track them through like 10 years of internet culture. They won't have to play catch up with everyone else.
The thing is, like, they've all seen porn. Not many condoms in sight. And
I think California in the past couple of years
there's a
actually
law,
passed a
but
law
what I'm
where
saying
California
is,
they
you know
have
what
to.
I'm saying, though.
I know.
Like, so it teaches this. it's good and bad in different ways, because it teaches them this unrealistic expectation of like how it works.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the man's always in charge, like 99% of things. That's not real life, and I'm kind of glad I snuck in under that. Otherwise, I can't imagine the piece of garbage that me and my classmates would have been. So I'm pretty sure like current people are, because we don't teach sex ed. So what kind of environment is that?
Yeah,
I actually don't know.
Really weird, because we have sex ed in like I can't think of a single place in Canada that doesn't, unless maybe like religious schools don't teach it. But
Yeah.
I mean, we have it here. Parents have to sign off on it for the course, which is
Yeah.
weird in the first place, but I can understand why. I just feel bad for like the 1% of kids whose parents are like, "You will never learn."
Yeah.
You know,
No sex.
okay.
But my
There are,
hormones.
like 1 or 2 kids that their parents didn't sign off on it. I'm like, holy shit.
And that 1% of the 1%, it's like, I watched way too much Space Jam as a kid. I need education. I don't know what's going on.
There's no Lolas in nature. What do we do? Well, my friends, let me tell you.
Let me tell you about DeviantArt for a second.
No, this is not a joke. My first sex ed teacher in like 7th grade or whatever.
Yeah.
His name was Mr. Bone.
Okay.
Not a joke.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm a 24-year-old, and I laughed at that. I
Yeah,
can only
that's-
imagine what that...
Oh yeah, no. It was he's like, okay, let's get the jokes out of the way right now. Mr. Bone is
Bone
teaching
Zone.
sex ed. He should have called it the Bone Zone, however he did not.
Oh my god.
And,
Missed opportunity.
One of my friends in class, he actually died in a car accident shortly after this. 2 years later. He
Oh,
died
what
in
a fun
But-
interjection into that story.
And maybe this is why he died, but he would troll the teacher with questions we all knew the answer to.
Sure.
So and it would be like in an anonymous box you put a slip of paper in, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, we don't want to be embarrassed by asking questions out loud and being honest with each other.
big reward.
So we're gonna ask anonymous questions. So he would write on a piece of paper, what happens if a man ejaculates and he pinches it shut?
Oh, God.
And he did that
Oh, that's great.
for weeks. And honestly, that's an interesting question. What is the answer? So he
I'd
goes,
like to think
He
that...
explodes.
Obviously. It just comes out his eyes. And
You explode.
yeah. And so he's like, okay, I've gotten this question for 3 weeks straight. I assumed it was a joke, but it keeps coming up, so I'm going to answer it. And he looks into the class. By the way, this teacher knows all of our handwriting.
Yeah.
He's a teacher. We all have him.
Yeah.
This is not fair. He looks out and he goes, well, and he moves his hand and he like pinches an invisible dick because he's got to think about it.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I suspect it would be extremely painful. And that's the answer I got as a child on whether or not it's good to pinch your ding.
I'd like to
your
imagine he
ding-ding.
got the question the first week and was like, this is a joke. Second week he gets it, he's like, wait a minute. He starts racking his brain and he starts thinking about it
Have
for
I
the
ever
first time
done
in his
that?
life, and he's having an existential crisis.
Yeah.
And then he tries it, goes horribly, but he can't tell the class that.
I think at that age it might not be that bad because your muscles, whatever that muscle is that helps it.
Prostate.
Is it just the prostate?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know that's the major one, because if you do man
not-
kegels, you can get your prostate real strong.
Right, but I don't know if that's the only.
Perfect.
I don't know if that's the only. But I imagine a child would have a different experience than a full-grown man with like a clamp or whatever. I don't know
Yeah.
what. You just use your hand. Use 2 hands.
This is getting oddly specific.
Yeah, it's okay. That question has haunted me since 7th grade. So.
I can tell,
Okay.
and I can tell you've told that story multiple times.
Oh yeah.
And-
because it's true, and I'm waiting for someone to be like, Jake, here's the answer to this question.
I think the effortless way in which you tell that story says a lot more about you than it says about the person who asked that question.
Well, is it hard? Okay.
Mm.
All right. Okay. Well, to change the subject,
Ooh.
You don't want to talk about teenagers asking questions about their dicks?
only if they're 18.
Okay. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
That's the official stance of this show, by the way.
Okay.
Teenagers, but ones that can die in war
Okay. Sounds good.
legally.
That's fair.
Teenagers' butts.
So, that's got to be clipped somewhere. Just Adam saying teenagers' butts.
Yeah.
How do you feel about our current president?
Oh,
As an outsider looking in.
Oh, God.
Maybe it's not as bad from the outside looking in.
No, it's worse.
Maybe
It's
they're
gotten
looking
worse.
at this dumpster and going, you know what? That seems fine.
Oh, God.
This boiling nuclear explosion underneath where you live and all the people you know and love.
If Trump existed in a different time,
Yeah.
if he was president like 20 years ago, I don't think that this would have been like as much of a shit show because like
He can't tweet.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's great.
Yeah.
And there's plenty to criticize, and he's kind of a big dope. But at the same time, like I feel like that most of the stress coming from this comes more from like the divisiveness of how Americans interact with each other politically than any single thing that the president's doing. It's more about people being really vitriolic against each other. That's where the biggest issues come from me.
I think it's that, especially since, I mean, even just the last election before Trump, even that, I know internet culture feels totally different than it did today.
Yeah.
The discourse about politics, I mean, it was never...
Discourse is a very nice word to call it today.
It was never good on the internet, but it feels like everything's been ramped up to fucking 99, and it's so weird. I don't know what's happening. Everything's so intense.
Yeah, it's really... when people... when everyone's treating him like he's either Jesus or Hitler...
Yeah.
It brings out a lot of, I guess, passionate people on either side, and it's, I don't know. We just had our like a huge federal election in Canada a couple of years ago when Trudeau got elected, and it was the most heated election in the past 30 years for us, but nobody fucking, fought each other for real.
Correct me.
People didn't beat each other up over this shit. We still had a political discourse,
Correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I feel like Canadian elections for stuff like that, it's way shorter. There's a legal period of time in which they campaign. And it's
ours starts this fall.
Yeah, it starts 2 years before. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It never stops.
And
it feels like it's just.
I think that's part of the problem.
Aggressive politics all the time, and then it's on and off. 2 years, 2 years of intense that, and then 2 years of talking about the fallout of whatever happened. Yeah. It's just annoying and exhausting.
It was a very entertaining election to watch for me. That's for sure.
Yeah, you don't live here. I don't blame you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it's Hillary versus Trump, there's no right answer.
Yeah, there's a less wrong one, but definitely not a right. I think, I'd rather score 65% on the exam than 40, and I think we could have shot for 65%. We could have got the C-.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think a lot of people had some hatred for the Democratic Party after what they did to Bernie.
Yeah.
No,
that's not a bad thing.
So they kind of shot themselves in the fucking foot,
In the face.
The thing is with Trump, regardless of what he stands for, he got people to vote, He got people who normally wouldn't vote to vote for him. They were like, this is my boy. We're going to make America great again. He had people behind him. Hillary Clinton... her whole campaign was, I'm not Trump.
Yeah.
So even the people voting for Hillary Clinton are people that just showed up to vote because of Trump.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, we actually had the lowest...
Bernie got people to vote, too.
We had the lowest voter
he actually
turnout.
got people excited.
In a long time.
Bernie... Yeah, I know that there's tons of people who are like, oh, the whole Bernie would have won thing is just stupid, but I don't know. I mean, after Debbie Wasserman Schultz... steps down, you'd think that would be kind of a fucking clue that that it wasn't a fair election, Otherwise, there would be no issue and there would be no controversy and nothing would have happened.
Yeah. My hope, although based on their current behavior, the Democratic Party. I don't think they've learned anything, and I think they're going to do another.
Of course not.
It's Cory Booker.
Of course not.
They're gonna try to push Cory Booker.
They're going to try and do Obama too, Electric Boogaloo.
It really is.
Be like,
that.
you guys remember Obama?
Yeah,
he was
a non-threatening black man.
Yeah, because they're very out of touch
Now,
and think
the correct term is blacksmith.
Blacksmith. I do think Barack Obama, while I don't agree with all his politics, because I'm more left than he is, and maybe I'm just more left than most of the country anyway. But,
you are, and so am
I. I don't ever think like he had a sinister, like, I feel like he meant well, and that was important to me. Even when he was bombing innocent folks. I like to say folks because he says folks.
That's probably the term he used.
Yeah.
Sir, we have to do this strike. There are 73 innocent
How
civilians.
many folks are there, though?
How many folks are going to blow up?
Right, but Cory Booker, it's like a less good Barack Obama, which isn't ideal. So, I would really like, I don't know, maybe Elizabeth Warren would be a little bit better choice.
I don't know.
I don't know
regardless
who knows at this point.
Regardless of what happens, I don't think Trump can win re-election.
I think he can.
He can.
Oh, I think he
that would be hilarious to me.
I think he can.
I think he can, and I honestly, at this point, I borderline think he will.
He's disappointed in so many people on his own ticket, though.
His new slogan should be "Yes, we can."
That'd be hilarious. Sometimes I like the idea of Trump apart from the reality of it, because it's so idiocracy. It's like funny.
I don't know what's
when I separate it from like, oh, I live here and this is important to me, but like
Ramble was just a gorilla.
Like you know what? Maybe sometimes you let your memes be dreams, and we just go about business the way it should be.
No more presidential memes. Can we all agree?
Yeah, just
no more memes.
No Oprah, please. I'm
God.
sure she'd be very
nice.
nice.
I don't think she could win.
I don't think she can. I don't think she can win either. Chicago is not very big comparatively. So,
let's talk about something else. I'm sick of talking about politics.
Well, this leads me a little bit further away, but not a ton.
Okay.
From the light.
How many porn stars has
light.
Justin Trudeau had an affair with?
Oh, God.
Because let's be fair, I think Justin Trudeau could probably. I feel like he was a pickup artist before he was.
He doesn't have to pick up anyone. Trudeau is good enough looking that he doesn't.
Yeah.
They pick him up.
How's Trudeau doing? By the way,
He's too young.
Is he doing okay?
Well, I don't know.
Pot's gonna be legal soon. That's nice.
Good.
Yeah.
So across the whole country this summer. So
that's going to be hilarious to me, how America decides to deal with that.
We're getting real close. Well, the Republicans in Michigan are thinking, okay, to suppress left voter turnout, we might just legalize weed so they don't vote on that.
That's hilarious.
So we might just have legal weed in the state.
That's so stupid. This country's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there are some positives, there are some negatives. I didn't vote for him. Mm-hmm. I voted for another left-leaning party.
Sure.
But I mean, the whole goal of the last election was just to get rid of Stephen Harper, and I'm happy no matter how we did it, as long as it's just one of the other two major parties.
God, listening to someone talk about like multiple parties and gradients of like God, I feel like I'm the kid at school whose parents don't pack him a lunch and also don't give him money and watch all the other kids eat.
How do you have like runoff, or what does the second place guy get? Anything, or like is it just one party?
Well, it's
a parliamentary system, right?
Right.
So the party gets elected.
So you get like
pick
seats, and so you can have like a majority or minority government, and so the Liberals have a majority right now, I think. So depending on how many seats you have, you can either have a majority or minority government, and that would influence how much power that your party has in the election, or in terms of the functioning government after the election. And so, I mean, there's still some issues with our voting system that need to be addressed. One of them being the fact that we still use first past the post. It's not a very representative voting system.
I agree.
And I would prefer for people not to have to vote strategically, which is, something that people were doing this election because there are two notable liberal parties and one major conservative party. No one's going to vote. Everybody voting conservatives voting for one party. Everybody voting for liberals voting for two parties. So that winds up accidentally creating conservative majorities sometimes.
Yeah.
When the majority of the country is more liberal than conservative.
Sure.
So even if they're 60% of the votes go to Liberal and NDP, like 25% and 35%, and then the rest go to Conservative, 40%, they get a majority, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So one of Trudeau's campaign promises was electoral reform to look at systems other than first past the post, although I'm not sure he specified which one.
Sure.
And one of the biggest criticisms against him right now, which is a completely valid criticism that I agree with, is that he fucking gave up on that. He promised it in his election, and he literally just said, actually, it's looking like it's more complicated than we thought it was going to be, so we're just not even going to do it. He literally just gave up. He just said, like, we're not going to do it. And it pisses me off because obviously the reason why it's remaining is either A, he didn't care about it in the first place and he was just lying,
sure,
or B, he realized, oh, we just got a liberal majority with this. It's not so bad. Like, fuck off. Like, people voted for that, and I'm actually really pissed off that he decided to abandon that. It's really upsetting to me. But we take whatever we can get, and I still think that it's country's doing better than we were under Stephen Harper. So whatever. You win some, you lose some, right?
The way you talk about it, just so envious over here.
I know.
Like he there's this one campaign promise that looked really good. But it's
pretty
been fine
cool.
otherwise.
Oh yeah, our issues are really minuscule.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing that bad. Whenever people shit on Canada, like, oh, look at this libtard government, it's like, Trudeau did something embarrassing,
Sure.
Like it's always like a joke. Like he went to India and dressed up in like the most borderline racist caricature of what he was, he thought he should be dressing.
Oh
His
no!
whole family. Like, look at me, I'm embracing the culture, but it wasn't done in any kind of like it was basically like this parody.
It was like a really cynical take on how you should include yourself in a culture. Yeah.
See, the sad thing about that is if I heard that,
it's kind of a fucking dweeb, but whatever. It's dope.
If I heard that story and it was about like Donald Trump, for instance, it would be like, Donald Trump showed up in India in brownface with a dot in his forehead, and that's not even a thing the men do, so I don't know what he was thinking, like...
Yeah, it would just always be something so extra with him. But
the plot twist is it was actually an M&M on his head.
He fell asleep on the plane.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. Well, we're just going to abort that whole thing. All the politics. We're going to abort it all. And we're gonna...
But your country isn't even that pro-abortion, so...
no, but this podcast is, though. Please, abort your children.
Oh, God.
So I actually want to go all the way back around to the beginning of our conversation before we pressed stream, because we were talking movies.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned a 6-part thing you wanted to see.
His reviews of Synecdoche, New York, which are the movie's excellent. If anyone hasn't seen it, by the way, and the review series, which I don't know why I'm talking about it when you're here. You could talk about it. Maybe you will in a second. But 5 parts are out already. Check it out. It's wonderful. Synecdoche, New York, and I believe it's called The Genius of Synecdoche, New York, is the video series. But I suggest you watch the movie first. Unlike Jake.
Who I have not seen it. So what I wanted to do, if you want to talk about Synecdoche,
yeah,
okay, real quick, absolutely. But I wanted you to basically yell at me and tell me that movies I have to see, like because I trust you.
In general,
well, we'll pare it down to like your personal like what's the before I die. These are the movies I want to see because I killed someone for not seeing them and now I'm on death row.
Well, I've only usually when I recommend films to individuals, it has more to do with what I think they'll enjoy, not necessarily movies that I mean, there's tons of different movies that I love from every genre, but if someone loves horror movies a lot and there's a lot of horror movies that they haven't seen that I would want to recommend to them, then I'll do that. You know, some of my favorite movies, like Synecdoche, New York, and my favorite movie, The Holy Mountain, I would recommend to everybody, like, try watching it at least once, but I would never, you know, say that they should expect to like it, because those are very non-traditional kind of borderline inaccessible films to some extent. So
that's how I am with my music recommendations, though. So I feel like I can wrap my head around, like, why does Adam like this movie, and then I can try my best.
I think you should just watch every Charlie Kaufman movie.
Every Charlie Kaufman
Yes.
movie? Okay.
well,
Not
depends
everyone?
what you define his movies.
I'm
because
there's
some that
in my head. It's Synecdoche, Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind,
Yeah, I've seen
Being
that.
John
Seen
Malkovich,
that.
and
adaptation.
Adaptation. Yeah, the Nicolas Cage one. I really like Adaptation.
You should also watch Anomalisa.
Oh, you know what? I did watch that. I watched it once when it right when it first came out. I barely remember it though. I got to rewatch it.
What?
Anomalisa. It's a stop motion.
It's the newest one, yeah.
It's very good.
Great.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, those five I would say definitely recommend. The Holy Mountain, my favorite movie. So obviously that one. It's a very it's quite a trip. Do not expect do not expect anything you've ever expected from a movie in this movie, because it is not any other movie. Houseu, Japanese horror film, very strange. We talk about it in episode 2 of the Sardonicast podcast that I'm doing with Ralph the Movie Maker, and I Hate Everything.
Is that the one that's just called, in English, it's just called House, and it's from the 70s, or am I thinking of a different Japanese film?
It's not in English.
Okay.
But I mean, the title in English would be House, yeah.
Okay, so we might be thinking of the same one. Okay.
The movie is not in English, though,
Yeah.
but it is from the 1970s.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. Luther in the chat saying The Piano Teacher. That's one of my favorite movies. Probably my favorite from Michel Haneke, which is my favorite director. Piano Teacher, Caché. I wouldn't really recommend Funny Games US unless you already like his other movies, because so many people go into that expecting like a horror movie, but it is and it isn't.
Is that that's the one where they're in like a beach house? Is that
Naomi Watts and Tim Roth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it, but that one's very inaccessible in terms of how inaccessible one of his films can be.
Her ramble was just a gorilla.
That's excellent.
There's a good chat question. I actually want to know the
that?
answer to this. What are your thoughts on Pink Flamingos? I don't know if I've ever heard you talk about a John Waters film, actually, so I'm curious how you feel about that, or any of his movies, actually, really.
He is an interesting man.
Oh, yes, he is.
I like that the one word you could use to describe his movies is just like gross.
Yeah.
Like he loves to disgust people, and I like how that's kind of his goal in a sense. Pink Flamingos, I mean, you get what you're paying for.
Jake, have you seen Pink?
People fucking each other and ripping a chicken's head off
Did that run on IFC for a little bit back in the...
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. It's a very old movie.
I may have run across it, but not watched it.
It's got Divine in it.
And she eats dog poop.
Oh, you'd remember
Does
remember
she
this
actually
film.
eat dog poop?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
A single shot.
It's great.
A single shot of a dog
You can
shitting.
see the dog. Yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
she picks it up and eats it and goes, yum.
Wow, that's
She breaks a little bit, but in fairness, she's eating real dog shit. I don't blame her.
Yeah.
So
I've stuff like that reminds me of like Caligula.
I haven't seen Caligula, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's there's a lot of sex. It's really weird.
There's a great documentary called The Act of Killing that I would recommend to most people. If you've never heard of it, I'd highly suggest looking it up.
That's about
Dear Zachary is the saddest documentary ever made.
That one's on Netflix, actually.
Yeah. Dear Zachary's really sad.
Did you weep?
That's everybody cries.
Everybody cries.
Jake, you might actually cry. You don't cry.
I don't.
It's
really
just
cry
a real.
lot.
It's a.
I'm dead inside.
Yeah.
So.
No spoilers, but watch it. It's really good.
Okay.
Yeah. There's. I mean, I can just go on and on. Black Dynamite, one of the best parody.
I love
films ever
Black
made.
Dynamite. I love it's the only I can't remember the actor's name. What's the actor that plays Black Dynamite? What's his name?
Michael Jai White.
Michael Jai White. He does really sad, like B and C movie action movies. A lot of the time, like he'll do like karate. And stuff. He was the guy that ordered the Joker, his dead body in Dark Knight. The black guy who's like, enough with the clown. That's Michael Jai White.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's in there for a short bit.
Yeah, and then well, he's dead. And then Black Dynamite. Have you not seen this?
No.
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh.
Yeah,
definitely check that one out.
Everyone should see Black Dynamite. It makes fun of.
It's one of the funniest movies ever.
Yeah.
Is it just making fun of like blaxploitation
Like, even-
70s?
It makes fun of
Shaft
that.
type stuff?
It definitely makes fun of that. It makes fun of just like action movies in general that are like corny. And then it also like the boom comes into the shot at one point and he pushes it out of the way and continues the scene. Like it's just making fun of like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's incredibly self-aware.
Yeah.
It's like the closest thing that this generation will have to a movie like Airplane, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's
Or,
still its own thing.
Excuse me, have you not seen a disaster movie?
Airplane.
Oh, God.
Friedberg and Seltzer.
Spinal Tap. Obviously, it's not a documentary, but Spinal Tap's kind of in the same vein where it's taking the piss out of a concept.
Well, it's a mockumentary.
Well, I know, but it's really well
Yeah.
done, is what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you like Spinal Tap, you have to
I
like
do
Black
like Spinal
Dynamite.
Yeah.
There's The Hunt.
The Hunt.
Directed. Yeah, it's a Danish film that everybody I've recommended it to loves it. So it's got Michael. What's his name? Michael Madsen? No, what? No, that's
Mads Mikkelsen.
what? Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah, that's.
Is it Michelson?
I've heard Mikkelsen.
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 Yes.
Mads
I love
Mikkelsen.
Mads. Mods.
But yeah, it's an amazing drama thriller kind of psychological fucked up movie.
He's great.
Surprisingly,
It's weird to describe it like
Yeah.
that, but it's kind of what it is.
on this list, I've yet to see the best movie Adam has ever recommended to me via his channel,
Yeah.
and that is any Neil Breen film.
Oh, Neil Breen.
Oh.
We've Breened before.
Yeah.
Fateful Findings has a Blu-ray.
No.
When did it come out? No.
Does it have like commentary?
It's existed for a while, but it's not on his official website. It's on Amazon, and I bought it, and it's legit 1080p. So
Does it have anything like
I don't
bonus
understand.
features? Because I'd love to hear him just talk about his movie. Because I have most bad directors, even Tommy Wiseau,
Tommy
Wiseau, whatever. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You like,
Unfortunately, it
There's-
doesn't have any special features, but
oh, that's so sad because the thing about Tommy Wiseau, you can like see where it's coming from. There's like an ego there you can maybe connect to. Breen is so not that. I don't even understand what he is.
Schizophrenic.
Oh, yeah.
You think he's mentally unwell?
He's I think in post-production right now for his new film Twisted.
Yeah, I don't. Did he ever make all his money for that GoFundMe or whatever? That made me sad when I looked at it and he didn't have his funding. I was like, do not enough people know about Neil Breen?
Yeah, well, it's being made either
Yeah.
way. There's actually, supposedly, according to him on his Twitter account, there's a documentary film crew covering his filmmaking process of this film that will be released when his film's released. So that's exciting. So
God,
if you're
that's
looking
so
for
good.
any kind of like special features on what goes on in the mind of Neil Breen, now's the time.
That's amazing.
It's come.
How many
The
computers?
Of Jesus himself.
He actually said in this one, Jake,
No
that
computers?
no computers. He said they're not going to be destroying laptops. I think he's aware of the memes, and that scares me because I don't want him to steer away from.
But think
We'll
about
see.
where he
I think
steers
he's still
if he.
going to be genuine.
Because see, to us, we think you can steer a car right or you can steer it left. I think Neil Breen thinks he can steer it down and up and backwards. So I don't think steering away from anything is a bad news when it comes to Breen.
Okay.
He might just start smashing like iPads.
Well, I mean, here's the biggest takeaway from Neil Breen and why he is going to remain pure. He every so bad that it's good director, Tommy
Yeah.
Wiseau, James Wynn, etc., etc. They make their big first movie that gets noticed by so many people and it gets laughed at, but it always breaks them. It always winds up getting them to accept in some sort of fashion that they made a shitty movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that they shouldn't even try. And which is why Wiseau, he changed it and said like, oh yeah, it's a dark comedy. It's totally not supposed to be taken seriously. Like, okay, sure. And then his next project right after that was the show The Neighbors, which was his attempt at a comedy. James Wynn did the exact same thing. He does Birdemic 2. He's like, oh, well, I'm just going to reference the first movie and try to make a comedy because people want a comedy, right? This is what they want. No, it's not what they want because they want to see you fail at something serious, and that's what's funny. It's not funny when you fail at a comedy because then it's not funny. Then it's just embarrassing.
I think that
Neil Breen's films are so obscure and like metaphorical that he can always, until the end of time, he can always tell himself they just don't get it. The baby heads in the desert, they just don't get it.
I wonder, is it a metaphor?
But if it is, he's like trying to retell the same one, and it's like not working, and I don't understand what is.
And I love it. Like, there's always magic.
I think he throws in a lot of shit just for no reason. But the most important part is that, from the looks of it, he's continuing to make movies that he considers to be serious passion projects. He's not making Twisted, his next film, to the best of my knowledge. He's not just like, oh, I'm making a comedy now. He's not going to start memeing himself. That would be the death of Neil Breen.
Yeah.
But even if it was, he's got fucking 4 films. Every other So Bad That It's Good director, or most of them, have like 1 before they crack.
So, Retro Game Queen in the chat here stole, copy and pasted a Neil Breen tweet, and apparently 20 minutes ago, he tweeted, I've just completed my new feature film, Twisted, big, unique story, very different, action.
Yes.
I do not have a trailer or website yet. I'll keep you posted. Very exciting.
Why does he have 3 exclamation marks here, but 4 here?
That's the end of the sentence.
The lack of consistency bothers me.
That's the end of the tweet, you fool. He had characters
why were
left.
there 4 dots in his title, I am here now? Sorry. I am here now.
Because ellipses in a title build tension, Adam. God, don't you know anything about movies?
This is filmmaking, Adam. Get used to it.
Mm.
Do you have films out?
What do you mean?
Do you partake in the filmmaking?
No, he's not like Ralph, I don't think.
What?
Well, I mean, there's like a bunch of shitty things I made when I was in high school.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
But yeah, and I talked about this on, I forget which episode of Sardonicast, but I talked about this a bit already. But I'm looking to create more film stuff, and I'm in the middle of filming a music video for the album that's coming out, and it's going well. But I'm taking baby steps, and I think that that's the correct approach, is to learn as I go, right? And I don't want to be so over-ambitious in what I'm trying to do that I wind up doing things that I can't yet. And so right now, I mean, this music video that I'm filming, it's a very simple concept, but it's cool, and I'm not going to describe it, but you'll see it when it's out. And it's something that I can literally just film by myself with a camera and learn about, how to use it properly as I'm filming it. And it's a very low risk kind of style of filmmaking, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. It's a cool concept. I wish I could say what it is, but
well, I don't know. I'm happy being blue-balled in this scenario. I think.
We'll find out.
I think it's good.
Much like in the title, I am here. Now, it builds anticipation.
Yeah,
now we understand.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that I want to do. I want to make something, that's more narrative-driven.
Yeah.
I would like to collaborate with somebody on, like, the concept of, like, an animated music video that I want to make. But, yeah, I mean, after, music videos, then I can, dip my toe into, like, actual short films, and then hopefully after that point, raise some money and make an actual film. But
it's exciting.
Things have to come organically. I can't force them.
Yeah. We constantly sit and talk about movies even when we're not filming, and we always think, man, that's a good idea, and then nothing ever comes of it because we're garbage. We're garbage people. I wonder actually how, like, if we had the means and the people around us to do so,
garbage. It would be garbage.
Like, I wonder. I really wonder. Stacked up against like the worst because I don't think we're gonna make anything great. But I wonder, like, where are we on top of Garbage Mountain? Like, at what point are we?
We're in a sad
like
part.
K2 or what?
We're in a sad part of Garbage Mountain where we're not like as loved as Neil Breen because it's not so bad it's funny, but
like
we're not actually
bowl?
good. We're like we're like 7 pages into Amazon Prime movies, and you're like, oh god, this isn't even so bad it's funny. That's what I am.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. I could make Puppet Master 10.
Well, I think all of our ideas, though, are not original. They are, here's how I would take this concept and
They're
make
all
it better.
Blender pitches. What if you took
No.
this movie?
Yeah, no. What?
Garbage.
Like, here's how to make Superman not fucking hurt me when I watch it. Yeah.
Well, as long as it's as good as Suicide Squad, you'll make
Jesus. Fucking
excuse
Christ.
me,
make a lot
Oscar.
of money and you'll win an Oscar. Yeah.
Oscar-winning Suicide Squad. How dare you, sir? Just like
I was just
Sir
thinking about
Paul
the fact
McCartney.
Man, Suicide Squad won an Oscar for makeup, but Synecdoche New York didn't get even nominated.
Well,
They had
but
really good makeup in that movie. Yeah.
I know I'm not the first person to bring this up, but Star Trek Beyond was in that category the same year as Suicide
Yeah.
Squad. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I actually think technically the Killer Croc makeup is pretty good. I'm not going to say it isn't. The movie's bad, but I like the makeup. I think in concept it's a bad idea to have it just be like a guy like that.
Sure.
But if you're
He
going
looks
for that.
stupid.
Yeah. But some of the alien crew members in Star Trek Beyond, they were so good. Like that chick with she had sort of a face hugger on the back of her head.
Yeah.
I don't understand things, but it's the Oscars. No one cares anyway. It's true. No one gives a shit about the Oscars at this point. They have like the lowest ratings ever at this point.
Yeah.
It's fun to make fun of the Oscars.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Do you have an Oscar watch? Do you do that?
Oh yeah, he has.
Yeah, there's the past 2 years I've posted like we do a live stream, and I posted supercuts of the past 2 years. The most recent one, this year's Oscars, I would highly suggest you check out that video on my channel because it's pretty funny. We're literally just making fun of it the entire time.
I didn't watch the Oscars. How many bad jokes about last year's mistake with the Best Picture nominee did they make? Because I'd
There were
imagine.
quite a few, yeah.
Oh God, we made a mistake.
I didn't watch them.
Oh, bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
big
Oscars would be
reward.
better if Jimmy Kimmel wasn't hosting.
Poor Jimmy Kimmel. He's just trying to do his best, man. At least it's not Jimmy Fallon.
So was Hitler.
Hitler honestly was pretty successful for a while, so I think maybe Kimmel could step his game up just a bit. Imagine Kimmel with Hitler's tenacity. What a tour de force!
Frankly, and his access to amphetamines, it would be bonkers.
Oh man, that's too sad. It's about 6:30. That's probably enough of your time. Do we have any questions from the fans?
A big reward
that you'd like to Adam. Okay. If there's any questions that you would like to ask our special guest Adam from Your Movie Sucks. And by the way, if you like movies at all, or if you just like to hear people usually tear down, but often my favorite part of like Nostalgia Critic before it went all crazy was like his actual analysis. It's like all the good parts of that and then much more to me. It's like I love the content. I do. It's yeah. I think you do a really good job.
If anyone, by the way, hasn't seen his channel at all, I know there's a ton of videos out there. My personal favorites of his, the Saw reviews are all great. The M. Night Shyamalan marathon you did was great.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, that was good. God, so
Those are old.
They're
so old.
I know. I already mentioned the Synecdoche New York. The recent one on Ready Player One was good just for the pointing out all the shit that didn't make sense in that movie. That was good. God, there's a lot of good ones out there.
I do a binge thing because I don't frequent YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'll sit down and be like, okay, today it's Lindsay Ellis. Today it's Adam. Today it's Ralph.
Sure.
And then I'll just watch whatever while I'm working. Yeah, it's very bingeable content, which is weird for long form content.
Yeah.
So.
Why, thank you.
Good works.
Oh, the childhood trauma one. I forgot about that. That was a great one too, specifically because weirdly, the Ghost Rider episode that you were talking about, I thought it was. I don't know if other people have also told you this. I thought that was something I made up in my head as a kid and
That's
scared
what
me.
everybody fucking says.
Because it's such
Which one?
Yeah, that's what I was pointing out in the video. Is like this had serious mental, long-lasting damage
What movie
on any kid that watched it. It's like people repress it and think that it's like a bad dream, and then later in life they realize that it was actually a thing.
Yeah, let me.
And it wasn't just some fever dream nightmare.
Yeah, let me tell Jake Jake has no idea what
Well,
we're talking about.
I was reading this and I was.
Okay, there's an episode of Ghost Rider. Remember Ghost Rider?
I
do. In which, you remember the purple
I
gooey
do.
guy episode? Okay, see, as a kid, I forgot that episode existed, but I remember that episode because it scared me so much because of, like,
Yeah, what
for
was
one
going
thing,
on?
he starts out as a puppet, and then he turns into this giant thing, and that is horrific, because at no point do they allude to that being a thing in the episode, as far as I remember. They just throw water on him, and he grows into, like, a man.
Okay.
And then, like, there's, like, purple stuff on the edges of the screen, so it almost feels like fourth wall breaky, like the guy's coming for you. It's really fucked up for a kid show.
They like trap and suffocate the children.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And like the voice is like this demonic, like ah ha ha, like this terrifying thing that doesn't belong in any sort of children's programming. And then he's like 6 or 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
Right?
And he's just
Chasing
like leather. It's
the design of the creature is from Tom Savini.
yeah.
Who does all this like all these zombie fucking movies and then this one kids show. It's like, how did that happen?
For reference,
I didn't even realize that until like I was making the review and I saw in the credits. I was like, what? That wasn't even credited on IMDb until I pointed it out.
yeah,
Great.
Nuts. I don't understand how that happened. Why would you let Tom Savini design something for your kids show?
I was just gonna say, I could be wrong. Tom Savini, he's done tons of special effects work, but I think specifically he did some of the Friday the 13th films, and they had to, like, it was known a thing they had to cut down some of his effects because they looked too
Jesus
good.
Christ.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. I know he did some of the Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, he's
stuff.
done a ton of horror movies.
Yeah.
that was his thing.
Yeah.
He's like a horror, blood, gore,
And they did it for
scary
Ghost Rider.
effects artist.
Yeah.
Maybe they were like, hey, let's scare the fuck out of these kids. Maybe we can stop working on Ghost Rider.
It worked. Wasn't it the
Yeah.
last episode or something too? Or it was
Yeah,
near
of the whole show.
Wow.
It was the last episode of the whole show.
Oh, so they just went for it. They're like, fuck it, we got the budget. Let's get Tom
And it
Savini.
ended with like a fucking jump scare too. Not jump scare, but like this like they're all like, man, that was some crazy story we wrote, and then they like look underneath the barbecue lid, and the thing's there, and it like attacks them. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I'd like to think a bunch of kids watched, like, part 1 or whatever, or started watching it, got too scared, turned it off, and then they didn't realize, like, the concept of show cancellations, and they just thought the characters died.
That's funny.
Yeah, basically. That was a fun review to work on. I'm glad I got to I interviewed the writer for that episode too, and that was actually a really cool and I guess comforting and conclusive experience to get some closure
I
on
know
this thing that fucked me up.
I think I'm not even kidding when I say this. Not just for you. I don't know if anyone else has told you this in, like, the comments of that video. For me, that was kind of cathartic too, hearing her talk about it and how surprised they were about how, like, scared the kids were about. I don't know. It's funny, and that's a great. All the stuff you talked about in that series, the childhood trauma stuff, is good too. But
Speaking of scared, Claptrap Obama asks, can Adam recommend some horror films? My one that I think people should watch on Netflix is They Look Like People.
yeah, that one's good.
But
That was all right.
oh, whoa, whoa, taking us down a peg. What?
I was med by it. I went meh.
Yeah.
See, I like movies that in fairness, I understand this isn't the whole thing. Maybe it was just because maybe I need to watch it again. The whole time I was caught up in the, is he crazy or is it? And that's probably why. I thought that aspect of it was effective.
I don't think it probably works on a second viewing.
That's fair.
But the first time.
Yeah, I feel like that's been done a lot though.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just kind of liked the. It didn't try to be what it wasn't. I guess I don't know. It didn't like try to throw you too much. It was more. It was in the writing that it was like making you question it out of like affection.
Great horror movie, I think. You know, not flawless, but still great in terms of what a horror movie sets out to be. The Descent, that's a great one, I think.
I do like that. That was the spelunking and then
Spelunking.
Yeah, spelunking is a good setting for any horror film, I think.
It encapsulates like every single type of fear that you could present in a horror film. You know, it doesn't just stick to one thing.
It's not just a
like,
monster
all
movie.
jump scares are like all creepy or all in the dark or all claustrophobia. There's like a little bit of everything, and that's part of why I think it works so well.
You know, and the ending didn't feel like a ripoff, because you know how sometimes they do it was always something different. I didn't actually hate that ending.
I don't like the ending. I like The Descent. I don't like the ending of The Descent.
Well, I don't want to talk too much about it, just in case people have seen it. But there's two different endings.
Okay.
I pointed at. I reviewed The Descent Part 2 a long time ago. So it's an older review on my channel, and I do talk about the difference between the American ending and the every other country ending of the first film. So
if I had to guess, is one version a more positive outlook on an ending, and one more, cynical and realistic? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that.
There's I'm trying to think of some
horror movies.
It Follows was a pretty good recent one. I think, out of recent horror movies, I would say that's a pretty good one.
I thought The Witch was pretty good.
The Witch?
Yeah, The Witch was good.
I think that was a first-time director too, which was surprising.
There's a vampire movie called Thirst from the director of Old Boy, which is really great.
The Korean director, or not the remake? Okay.
Oh fuck yeah, Jesus, yeah, not
Josh Brolin's remake of Old Boy.
Yeah. Yeah, not Spike Lee. There's I'm just scanning my Blu-ray shelf right now. If you're into, let me think. Let me think for a second while I. There's in the first VHS movie, there's a segment called Amateur Night. So it's like an anthology horror, but that's that's the best segment out of all of the VHS movies. It's worth it just to watch the movie just for that one segment.
I'm personally
it's like 15, 20 minutes.
I'm kind of of the opinion that anthology is the best way to do horror, because long form it tends to like piddle out,
and it also explains a lot.
Right.
Usually it's like, we gotta go
explains. Yeah.
There's benefits to telling shorter stories, not just for the horror genre, because a lot of what winds up happening in filmmaking, when it comes down to stories turning out to be like cliched or having ridiculous tropes or the checklist of what needs to happen in a narrative in order for it to be a film at all, that winds up happening because of the structure of the longer format of a film. People are, almost every movie, it's like, okay, between the second and third act, there has to be this sort of moment where the characters hate each other, and
some things have to come apart,
become friends after blah 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 blah. And I think that there is a benefit towards content being more condensed. Not saying everything should be shorter, but there should be more variety in terms of what a film's structure can be, because right now it's a lot of films just trying to emulate each other, and that's not. I mean, that's why we get annoyances where we've seen the same thing a million times. It's like, oh, this is just the same movie I already saw.
Talking about different lengths of films and different people trying new stuff. We've talked about a couple of times on Unpopular Culture the trend of all the studios, sort of Disney becoming this ultra mega super studio, and then there's all the other studios basically, and how the Hollywood system is sort of, I don't know. It feels like it's coming to a climax in one way or another. And I feel like filming equipment and everything has become so much cheaper, and streaming services have become such a thing. It's almost similar to how VHS helped.
And you can self-produce on stuff like YouTube.
It's similar to how I feel like VHS helped stimulate so much of the direct-to-video market. Sure, most of that's garbage, but you can still find a lot of decent stuff, and at the very least there was a lot of new content coming out, and new people learning the craft through that. I think similar things are happening now with digital filmmaking and streaming services, and we're going to be seeing more experimental stuff, or just stuff that doesn't follow your typical Hollywood hour-and-a-half to 2-hour structure where people are going to be trying more stuff. I don't know.
I was another one I was going to recommend is Martyrs from 2008. Don't watch the remake. You gotta watch the French Canadian one, not the shitty American one, because the remake
Probably a
sucks.
rule in general, just to stand by.
And then I guess just to wrap it up, my favorite horror movie is The Thing. I would have to say.
Oh, that's a classic.
It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
That's like one of the most perfect horror movies for me.
How do you feel about
in terms of the experience from it?
Akin to that, Alien and Aliens are usually up there with people who like The Thing. Is that are you on the same page there?
Not as much. I mean, they're still great. I'm just not. The Thing is still way higher in my own enjoyment.
Did you? You're younger than me by a little bit, but they made a video game for like the PlayStation 2 or something ages ago.
Yeah,
with The Thing. Did you happen to get a chance at that?
Not really. I saw my friend play a bit of it, but I would like to go through it on my stream or something, on my Sunday Twitch stream.
It starts out in like a survival horror game, like Resident Evil or whatever. They were very popular at the time. There was like a Dino Crisis and lots of those coming out. But it has like a sanity bar, and I thought it was going to be a good thing. I don't know if it actually worked because it's so.
It's interesting conceptually.
Yeah,
I like when games are like different.
It definitely had a good concept. So, but I don't know that I played all the way through. So
there's another game like that. I forget the name. I think it was a Japanese game though that also had a sanity gameplay mechanic. Where as your sanity went down, you would start to see things, or even like the video settings.
Amnesia had that in a sentence.
Yeah. Okay, maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
Senua's Sacrifice just came out, and now it's more of the narrative. It's not necessarily a bar that you fill.
Sure.
But that's dealing with like schizophrenia and stuff, so and mental illness in general. I guess it's really, really good. But, Dater Lucum asks, Adam, what is a favorite of your own videos?
Well, there's a few. I mean, After Earth is one of my favorites, just because like it's so it's always so much fun when there's just so much to get out of a project. Because when I make the larger form, like big project YMS reviews, I love to go through the interview footage, and that I feel like that adds a lot to it. After Earth was there was so much golden fucking material with Will Smith, Jaden, and M. Night. All of their interview footage was just hilarious, and it helped me out a lot making the video, and it helped me to tell like a more coherent story about the production behind the film. And I guess in that sense, The Walking Dead would be one of my favorite ones as well, just because, you know, it's less about saying like, oh, the show sucks. It's more about telling the story about Frank Darabont and his conflicts with AMC and how they royally fucked them over, and how that translates to the show, what changes were made because of AMC, and how that negatively affected the show as a whole. And then from my more recent ones, there's I think some of my funniest edits, like my kind of like almost YouTube poop style edits that I make in the reviews. Some of those are in Amusement. That was a film that had no interview footage whatsoever, so I kind of had to make up for it in terms of other like flair and editing, and so a lot of the best, funniest edits are in that video. And then Frozen, the ski lift movie. That one turned out pretty funny too to me.
There's a ski
just because.
movie?
Oh yeah.
Well, I did something that I never really did to this extent before in a review. Is like the director was just flat out saying things that weren't true about like reality and physics, and using it to justify why the criticisms against his film were invalid.
He was
saying things like,
"Oh, sorry, go
he
ahead."
was claiming that they were filming in conditions that were so cold that you couldn't see their breath, and that's why you couldn't see their breath for most of the movie.
What?
Yeah. And so I tried
work.
looking up as much information as I could have, and like I found, you know, some resources that were like fairly conclusive, but I took it an extra step, and I wound up interviewing a professor at the University of Manitoba who specializes on the effects of cold weather on the human body. And so there's this section of the review where he's just like, yeah, I don't know why he would say that. It was really funny to me just going through the extra efforts of like being like, okay, well, I know that this is not true, but I'm going to make absolutely sure that it's what I'm saying is undebatable here and try as hard as I can.
That's beautiful.
So, I mean, yeah, each film that I cover has like a different approach that needs to be taken with it. You know, it can't all just be the same formula for every single movie, because some movies have more to offer in certain areas and less to offer in other areas. You know, like
sure.
there's some where there's tons of interview footage or behind the scenes story to cover, and others where it's mostly just the film itself. You know, but yeah, it really depends. And so I like covering different kinds of movies and not just doing the same thing over and over. Some are just like objectively terrible, like worst thing in the world. Some are a little more challenging in the sense that a lot of people love them, and I'm trying to make more of a case for my own opinion that is like more contrarian, I guess, than other reviews. So.
I think my favorite reviews are when you really like something and you make an argument for the thing, because I don't know that you've never not convinced me, which means you're probably doing a really good job. I'm very stubborn, but I guess part of the last question you mentioned, just kind of like how different movies require different stuff. Do you have like, and I guess this is just because I like the content creation portion of it, obviously. Do you have like a process that you go in on a movie? Like, how many do you like watch it a bunch, or do you watch it once and take notes, or do you?
Well, it depends on what kind. So there's different types of reviews on my channel, right? There's like the list videos, and then Synecdoche New York is its own thing. Although I've done analysis videos before that are like kind of similar, I guess. And then something like Ready Player One, even though it says review and then dash YMS as in it's from YMS. It's not really a YMS style review though, because it's for something in theaters, and I'm just essentially recreating the film from memory and using promotional clips and trailer footage in order to help illustrate my points.
Right.
And so for things like that, I'm not going to watch a film twice in theaters just to say how I thought about it and whether or not you should see it. And sometimes what I have to say about it is more like specific or detailed than other things. There's some videos for films that are in theaters that are like 2 minutes long because either A, I don't want to spoil the whole experience for people and I want to recommend it, or B, there just isn't that much to say about it and it's it's kind of boring. Like, oh wow, everything about the technical aspects of filmmaking and the acting and music and directing, cinematography, etc. Those are all passable, but they felt like they could have been from any other movie. Like, how much could you possibly say about that without just bullshitting and looking for ways to pad the review and fill up time? When it comes to the larger form, like big project YMS reviews, watch the film. After that point, I know whether or not I want to review it. So like anything I decide to review, I've already seen once. I watch it again, take some notes, really point form, just to be like, okay, here's what I want to remember to talk about by the time I'm done making this review. Then I go through the interview footage, if there is any, and I download a bunch of videos and then organize and trim down the clips so that I have all these different points or clips relating to points that I'm intending on making in the video. And then, from there, just edit and structure it in a way that a lot of the times when it comes to the like joke edits that I make in my video, those usually aren't planned. Those are usually just like I'm editing and I'm like, hey, this would be funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's different process depending on the movie and depending on the type of video. The videos for things that are still in theaters where I'm just doing it from memory on, and whether I enjoyed the film or not. Usually those ones are, there's not as much passion or time behind those ones, and they more exist for either just pure comedy or just to be a source of recommendation. So, I mean, there's been points where I've just like flat out fucked up and said things about the movie that I was misinterpreting on those ones. But when it comes to the larger form, more, thought out videos, then those are much more. It's a much more rare occurrence for me to fuck up in one of those. So, but I can't make them all the time. They're unprofitable because they take months.
Yeah.
So I gotta pump out the ones for movies that are in theaters. Otherwise, I'm not making any money, and I can't do it.
Right. I was gonna say it must take just hours and hours, because like the idea of just like how much source material you have before you even start is daunting to me. Just in the interview clips alone, regardless of the film itself, like just in how much you source, and then to organize that's a lot of fucking work. People,
especially for The Walking Dead, that's a whole season of a TV show.
Christ, yeah.
Like that was one of the biggest projects I've ever done, and that was literally the first thing I released right after I started on Patreon. That was like my big selling point. It was like, hey, I have Patreon now.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of fucking time on that. I like barely slept when I made that.
Yeah. Patreon is wonderful, by the way, for all content creators that you love and enjoy. And then there's a thumbs up involved. No, I'm not going to ask you that question.
Twitch chat, keeping it classy.
Twitch chat is. I'm just going to go to the bottom now.
Okay.
Some person is dead. Oh fuck! Some people keep unfriended keeps coming up
because it's a review, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about it?
I have no idea. They just literally keep saying that. What franchise needs to go away for 20 to 30 years to be remade, rebooted, and it actually feel fresh? How do you feel about franchise movies, by the way? That can't be a very positive all the time.
Well, I mean,
they're pretty cynical products in general, so.
Whenever something, I don't know. There is nothing that I can think of that I would be like, yeah, I want that rebooted in 30 years. Either, kill it and have it end well, or just keep going. I would love for them to do like Saw 36 with the same fucking guy. I would love for them to go like dozens of movies when the main villain is already dead.
Is
be like, I planned really fucking far ahead.
Is the first Saw a good movie, or are the other Saws just so bad? Okay, because I enjoyed Saw the first time I saw it, but I was a teenager, so I don't know if I could be trusted. But the ending was good.
It's not free of criticisms.
No.
It's very cheesy at parts, but and parts of it don't make sense also.
Well,
but there's a reason why it had such a huge impact. Like, it basically made Lionsgate.
Yeah,
right? Lionsgate was just some fucking Canadian studio that released a bunch of indie movies like fucking Ginger Snaps, and then Saw came along. It completely changed everything, and now they're doing like the Hunger Games and shit.
Yeah. And any excuse to see Carrie Ells in self-inflicted pain is probably okay. Yeah. There was definitely a Breen question. What's the one Breen movie I think everyone should watch? I think it's Fateful Findings.
I think it's the one with I forget. I always confuse the names because they're all so similar. Yeah. The one with the famous ending. I'll say that in front of the green screen with all the people.
That's
Fateful Findings.
Yeah,
okay.
The one with the speech.
I confuse that one.
That's my favorite.
Yeah,
that's easily my favorite. I've watched that movie like 12 times or something.
Do you know what? There's so many layers to that movie that I just absolutely love. And like for instance, when they dig up the thing in the woods when they're kids, and then for some reason that comes back later, and then they do that fade shot
where it
because
turns into a mushroom?
he didn't have any effects budget, so they're just like, okay, stand still.
It's a magical day.
It's a magical day. But then like that the husband dies from the friend next to the car, but nothing comes of it.
Excuse me, he
commits suicide.
Air quotes commits suicide. Yeah. Why would you do this?
And then Neil Breen doesn't mourn for anyone. He moves on to the next hoe.
I can't believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide. Yeah. How could you have done this? How could you have committed suicide?
If you haven't seen Fateful Findings by Neil Breen, what are you doing with your life? It's one of those things. Game. Yeah, you drink a game anytime you. Says something weird would be just kill you.
Oh, no, you would die.
But the laptops I think are great. For some reason, there's laptops. He's just. I love the fact that like he eats that salad, but it's not a salad. It's just spinach on a plate. Like Neil Breen
drops it.
Couldn't even.
He looks very proud of himself.
Yeah, and they like laugh, and he's like, "Ha ha!" and he pushes paper. I love this movie. And
He's flirting with her.
is he though?
Kind of.
Is that how? Like he's like a fucking bird of paradise, where you see them, they're doing their mating ritual, and you're like, is that what that is? Is that for mating?
Yes.
So yeah, grab some friends, get some snacks, and watch Neil Breen's Fateful Findings. I don't think you should be trusted to watch that alone the first time. I think you need
alone and enjoyed it
the
just
first
as much.
time.
But I'm a weird guy. So.
Right, yeah, but no, I've seen it alone too. That's fine. But the first time I saw it was with you.
Yeah.
I feel like having a tour guide for the Neil Breen movie, like a Sherpa, is very important. A Neil Breen Sherpa to guide you through, so you can pause when they say inevitably what, and you can go, it's fine. You won't know all these questions. None of them will be answered. It's okay.
It's like having somebody to watch you before.
Spirit guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like having when you do shrooms and you want a chaperone. It's exactly the same experience. You ought to have one. It's smart to do so. They can drive you around when you get inevitably hungry.
I don't recommend anyone watch a Neil Breen film while on mushrooms, however.
Especially not for the first time or alone.
Because I feel like it'll make sense, and that's not an experience anyone should have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then you could play Bringo, which has been bingo for a Breen film.
That's his real one.
Yeah.
Bringo.
Breen, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right? B-R-I-E-N?
B-R-E-E-N.
B-R-E-E-N? Is it B-R-E-E-N?
Oh, yeah.
Bringo?
Breen.
Bringo. Yeah.
Real human Breen.
Yeah.
And a real hero.
Do you think there's home movies of Neil Breen?
Is that not what his films qualify as?
I mean, like,
Okay.
but like right before Faithful Findings, and they're just like, "Hey, it's Thanksgiving. How you doing, Neil?" And he goes, "I hate holidays" or something. I
I
don't know.
hope so, and I hope it has a backstory for the laptops. Like, what?
Neil Breen comes across as he's like a wedding photographer, or like the wedding director, like where he would take the camera around and do the wedding stuff.
Sure.
Right before
Videographer.
this, a
He was
videographer. Yeah.
He was in real estate.
I know he was in real estate, but I feel like he nightlifed.
Weirdly, so was Tommy Wiseau, based on the book The Disaster Artist. Weird. People with too much money in
And
real
Donald
estate.
Trump. This all
It all
wrapped
wraps
up in a
up.
bow.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's
I
all
think
connected.
abolish real estate, save the film industry.
Well, this is the time to pimp the things. So of course we have the main channel, YourMovieSucksDotOrg.
Yes.
We also have your brand new podcast, the Sardonicast, with
Mm-hmm.
very famous folks, Ralph and
that's what matters.
and I Hate Everything. How's that going? Is
going
it
well.
fun?
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's first of all, I mean, like, we have very similar we have a lot of crossover in our audiences,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I'm well aware of, and so that works out really well. Because, everybody's like, "Oh, wow, I wanted to see this and I didn't even know."
Yeah.
I'm enjoying having kind of like the recommendation aspect to it. So like every episode, we talk about a film that was recommended in the previous episode. So we'll take turns recommending something, and so far every recommendation has been something where one person recommends it and the other two just haven't even seen it, and it's just worked out that way. Although we will have some where it's like, we're bound to hit one eventually where it's like, oh, one of us has seen it or something. But, the important thing is just like revisiting something and then discussing it with all three of us in the conversation and going over the film and what we like about it or what we don't like about it. And I'm enjoying that aspect of it. And, otherwise we talk about, there's sections where we talk about current films in theaters or any, just verbal shit posting, I guess. Shooting the shit. And then we also answer audience questions, and yeah, it's good. It's every 2 weeks, and I'm enjoying it.
Excellent. So go check out the Sardonicast with it's the Famous People podcast according to Twitch chat. With many famous people. And then of course you've got music coming out, although I don't
Yep. The channel for my music is youtube.com/anunkindnessvideo, ANUNKINDNESSVIDEO. Or just search an unkindness, or if you type in fragments, you'll probably be on the first page. You can see the Blondie cover on YouTube, and you can see the original. But yeah, keep in mind that anything on that channel and all of my public music right now is just old demo recordings from like 2010. But, you know, new music coming out in the next year, and it'll all be a current reflection of my abilities and not just old shit. But, you know, even the old shit seems to be doing pretty well. You know, I got, you know, a decent amount of listeners on Spotify, and people seem to enjoy it. Yeah, no issues there. I mean, not many people that can say that, you know, Blondie covered one of their songs when they don't even have a full album out yet. So
yeah, that's pretty rad. I would be remiss if I didn't let her get a shot here. Retro Game Queen is a mod on our Discord, and she apparently has a giant corn cob because you are on a Discord she is on. That corn cob is how she describes her lady boner, I guess. And she said, "This was great, Daddy. Thank you." And I can't imagine she's talking to me. That must be you. So I just wanted you to know of how big a fan she is of your content.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's one more channel.
Oh, there is. You have more channels?
I have a gaming channel on Twitch stream.
Adam plays, right?
My gaming channel as well. Yeah, ADUMPLAZE. I would say ZE, but I'm talking to Americans, so.
I refuse to believe
Adam
you guys
plays,
say Z.
We make dumb fucking meme videos, I guess. And they're all taken from my Twitch streams, which I do every Sunday.
Oh, so you have a Twitch channel as well?
Yep, Twitch channel, same name. It's every Sunday I do video games, and then throughout the week I do like editing streams if I'm editing shit. So.
Do you do that, and do you also, because I've considered doing that because I do edit a lot. How do you manage? Like, do you just show everything that you're editing all the time, the whole time, or do you tend to? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, like, I put the screen on BRB if I need to go to Google and search up an image.
Sure.
Like, if I need to like use my web browser or something, or, you know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, yeah, just me in front of my editing software, webcam up, and I turn on stream notifications too, so people can, you know, see a funny image of Cool Cat if they donate. And that would be one of my favorite reviews I've made, probably Cool Cat. That one
I
was
think
special.
Cool Cat, especially because of the hoopla around all of those reviews when they started happening.
Didn't Derrick Savage just release a trailer for like an air quotes new Cool Cat movie, but it's clearly like the same clips, and he's just added like
he's like saving the world from gun violence or something, stopping school shootings.
Nah, it's a long story. Every crowdfunding campaign he's ever made, he changes what it is like before it's over. So it's like 3 days before the project. Before the campaign ends, he's like, "Oh, we're not doing a school shooting movie. We're doing Stranger Danger, and then we'll do school shooting later." But it's like, people already donated, you prick.
Wait, did he actually change it already?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, he did. Because he's like, "Oh, we need the full $25,000," even though literally on the campaign, he changed this as well. It literally said the film would be made regardless, right?
Yeah.
So the implication is like, even if it doesn't hit the $25,000 goal, that it's still going to be made. But now he's like, "Nah, I need the full $25,000, so we're going to make Stranger Danger. Sorry."
I'd love to see his explanation for why he needs the full $25,000 to make something about school shootings.
The guns,
as opposed the gun. But no, there was
buy guns.
But in the original Cool Cat,
catering.
he found him.
It's the cater. He literally said this.
What?
Oh, you're not joking.
Catering.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, the catering.
How would craft services be different? Oh God.
Because he wants to have like 30 kids or something.
I'm surprised.
Derrick Savage wants 30 kids is not a sentence I like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Well,
it makes me sad that someone like Derrick Savage continues to go out there, make money, and able like good for him, I guess. But like,
I wish he was making more money. I would love to see more Cool Cat. It's a great extended universe he's got going on.
If he keeps the
there's a lot of lore.
you should do a lore video.
I'm so concerned that if that series goes on long enough, he'll keep the suits, but continue to make movies, but like of the adult nature. And I don't want to see Derrick Savage. You know,
he's legitimately an insane person, and that's why his content is so special.
Yeah.
I've said many times before that it seems that like most of the art that I love and consume and appreciate, whether it's good or bad, whether it's Michelle Haneke or like Stanley Kubrick or Neil Breen or Daddy Derrick, my favorite pieces of art are ones where I can tell it came from a person, and I learn more about the person by the art that they create, and you can tell that it's someone with creative control and it's their vision, even if the vision's laughable, as long as I'm getting something out of it where I can, feel like it's something genuine and not just a product that was, designed to appeal to as many people as possible, Factory art, like the movies and music we were talking about earlier. It's like there's no voice to it, but when I see something with a voice, it's very special. Neil Breen, Daddy Derrick, very special people.
This is that's very noble, I think.
We had an idea once, by the way, that I want to run by you, because I want to know what
Are
you
we pitching
think.
him something?
No.
What's happening here?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like,
what kind of asshole am I on
no,
screen?
that's why I was like, I don't
pitch you a thing. No.
I've got this really great screenplay.
It's the elevator
Someday,
pitch.
I would love if Tommy Wiseau were to be sat down and filmed watching a Neil Breen film to see what, and then I want to see Neil Breen watch The Room, because I want to know,
what do they think of each other?
are they able to recognize in other films that they're bad, but not in, you know what I mean? Does this make sense what I'm trying
I don't know. I know what you're getting at, but they make very different movies.
I know, but that's why I'm so interested in what they think, because they're bad in such distinct ways, and I'm curious if either would be able to recognize. I don't know how to. I don't know. I just want to see this happen because I have no idea what would happen.
I would like to see them in a room discussing filmmaking.
And
This is the director's table. How do you go about and frankly, I don't know
think
if
Neil Breen would want to be associated with that, though.
right, but would it be illuminating, or maybe him and maybe just him, or one at a time, and then you can just cross-reference later. Like, what's the process there? Is it just pick up a camera and whatever happens? Like, it's
I'd
organic
imagine
like that?
Neil Breen, when he writes a
He
screenplay,
seems like a
I think
screenplay guy.
He seems like once
Yeah.
it's there, I feel like
Right.
he thinks this is gold.
Right.
He has a vision,
Yeah. And there's
and it's
As
a
mu-
masterpiece.
as much as we make fun of him, he does put his vision out for sale
Yeah.
in front of the world, and we all love it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, this turned into the Neil Breen Circle Jerk Hour.
Honestly, most live streams could probably benefit from that.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out, especially our special guest, Adam, from YMS, who
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure... did Derrick Savage sue you or try to?
He just did the. He DMCA'd the shit.
a lot.
DMCA.
We actually go into some detail about that in, I think, episode 3 of Sardonicast.
Right, because,
you'll see Cool Cat in the thumbnail.
Well, IHE definitely...
but we spent a decent amount of
as a
time
history.
talking about it.
Yeah, so you guys were kind of like...
Yeah. We were all involved.
Yeah.
It's a story.
What, was Ralph around back
I want
then?
to learn more.
No.
I don't think Ralph was around yet.
He was around in some form, but he wasn't.
Well, like a human person, he existed, but...
He was, he's been,
Yeah.
he's private in a lot of old videos, and he's been making shit for a while.
Huh.
He's just hasn't found an audience until recently.
Interesting.
Well, he does good work.
I'm glad he has.
Anyways, so thanks everybody for coming to the stream. If you missed the stream, if you're just catching it late, this full thing will be up on YouTube tomorrow or the next day. Boy. And so yeah, please subscribe over there. If you are on YouTube right now, there are links in the description to all the things. If you're on Twitch, just figure it out. Just fend for yourself time.
Yeah.
So again, thanks.
Subscribe to the things.
Yeah, thanks Adam for coming. Really
Thank you so much.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
I love you all electrically.